Welcome everyone to week 4, our last lecture for Psychology of Play this month. I can't believe it's week 4 already. I know James said, let's finish week 4 strong. That's a great idea. I hope that everyone has been enjoying the class so far. My name is Stephanie Fetcherin, and I'm one of the Psychology of Play instructors. So I will be leading our go-to training today. So what we're going to be talking about is, like it says right here, stress management and finding inspiration. So we want to definitely talk about some ways to manage stress, but also end it on a positive note and some inspiration talk. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Our journey today. So a lot of times we know, as you've been learning in this class, you've been doing the weekly plans, you have all these activities, you're trying to balance play and work and fitness and push, and sometimes that can be difficult because you have a lot going on. You might have family responsibilities, you might have obligations for jobs and school. And so a lot of times when that can seem like a lot, we encounter some type of stress, right? And, daily life can just take a toll on us and we just want to rest. And a lot of your industries that you're going into are going to contribute to some of your stress. Sometimes they're very fast paced and you have a lot of projects and deadlines and things like that. So being able to manage that stress and your actions is going to be really vital to your success. So we also today are going to talk about what is your purpose, why you're really doing what you're doing. And hopefully these two things combined will leave you feeling a sense of control over your journey and over your actions and attitude as you go through your programs. So let's talk about this dirty word, stress, right? Obviously, we've all experienced stress in here. That's a part of life, being a human. And sometimes we experience it when we don't have the resources or experience to handle a situation, and that's when it is triggered. And everyone has a different way of dealing with stress, but sometimes how we handle that stress depends on the perception of the situation that we're in. Now, of course, there's different types of stress. There's a good stress, which is called acute stress, and there's a bad stress, which is called chronic stress. So acute stress would be something like you have an exam, you're feeling stressed and maybe nervous about taking the exam, but it's temporary. After the exam, that stress kind of goes away. Well, chronic stress is much more than that, right? It is a long-term stress. It is something that has built up over time so that we kind of feel like we can't get out of it, right? So let me ask you a question. If you're experiencing chronic stress, so stress on a daily basis, and you don't have the tools to decrease that stress, what do you think are some things that you might experience when you're in that state? Robert says heart attacks. Nicholas says hopelessness. Yep. Depression, says Michael. Yep. Tired, angry. I'm just going to start reading what you have in the chat box. Restlessness, anxiety. Yeah, not such good things, right? Definitely depression, stroke or heart attack. I mean, the science is there that stress, chronic stress can lead to a lot of these health conditions. It affects our body, our mind being so overwhelmed. Caleb says lack of focus. Yes. And even decreased problem solving and motivation. So these are things that obviously we don't want to experience, especially when we have jobs and people that rely on us and responsibilities. Oh, that's I think it's Kalita. Is that right? I tend to take my anger out on people around me. Yeah, because when you're feeling stressed, sometimes and you don't have an outlet for that, it can definitely come across as anger, for sure. That's actually a good clue. Anger is actually a secondary emotion. So usually it's triggered by another emotion. So we might feel angry when we're stressed, but we might not think we're stressed. We might just think we're angry, right? Or when we're sad and depressed, we might think it's just because, we're feeling sad, but it could just be because it could also be because of stressed, right? So it can be triggering those other emotions as well. And that might be confusing to us if we're not, in touch with that. So basically, stress can push us away from accomplishing our goals. We get overwhelmed. We don't want to do anything. And we forget the importance of the source behind the stress. So if you have the tools to handle the stress and to handle what's causing you the stress, that's going to allow you to focus on how to start changing your mindset. Because remember, stress can be related to our perception of the events around us, right? So let's watch a clip really quickly on how stress affects our body. So if you go to the material section in your control panel and click on this link that says stress, go ahead and watch that video. Sorry for the ads from YouTube. Apologize. And when you're finished watching the video, just type done in the chat box and we'll talk about it. All right, it looks like most of you guys are finished watching the video. So what did you think about that? Was it anything new that you didn't realize? I mean, obviously the idea of stress affecting us and our body isn't something that's new. We all pretty much know that's common knowledge. Anything that stood out to you? Jared said he knew a good amount of it. Okay. Well, let me ask you this then. What are some things that you can do to manage your stress or that you're currently doing to manage your stress? If you have it. You're lucky if you don't. Nicholas says research options. Okay. I'm guessing you mean towards the problem at hand. Michael says meditation. Jared says have someone to vent to. Micah says taking time to do yoga and meditation. Jacob says gaming. Nicholas says exercise. Robert says exercise, yoga. Yeah, these are awesome ideas. Definitely some things to help reduce your stress. And we'll talk about one of those that was mentioned a little bit later. Okay, so you guys have some ideas. So that would be definitely something you would include. You know, I know it's last week, but you have your plans due tonight. So think about maybe adding some stress relieving ideas for your fit portion. Maybe trying some of those out and seeing what you like, because not everybody likes yoga. Not everybody likes to exercise or to do meditation. So you have to find what works for you. I know someone mentioned venting to a friend or someone. That's definitely me. That's my go-to. I call up my girlfriends and we get together and we just kind of talk about things, and it really takes a load off. And I find that helpful. So like I said, whatever works for you. Something to think about. So now let's talk about how to manage some of our actions and our thoughts so that our lives and careers and jobs and family life can be less stressful and more balanced. So first, to do that, we're going to look inward. Okay? Think about our own values and how they play a role in how we perceive the world around us, right? So I want you to think about what's important to you for a moment and consider what is important to you at your core. That's what it's called, core values, right? Just think about it. You don't have to type anything in the chat box yet. We're going to get into it in a minute. Now, some of you, this might be pretty easy. You're like, okay, I value this, I value this, I value this. Maybe it's something you've already thought about. But for others, it might not be so simple. You might be like, what does that mean, value? Like, what do I value? What is really important to me at my core? So when you consider the definition of value, when you're thinking about what is most important to you, a value means a standard of behavior. So what, in your opinion, is most important in your life? So it could be something worth, that's something that's useful, or it could be a principle that you believe in, or it could be even a quality of something. So sometimes that's not always easy. You're like, okay, that's a lot. Like, where do I start? So what we're going to do is we're going to help you, if you aren't already aware of this, is let's tap into some questions that are going to help you determine what are your core values. So here are some things to think about. We'll go through these one by one. So let's start off first with turning points in your life. So think back, like you're looking at a timeline of birth through now, and if you were to put things or add things, important events that have happened, powerful moments in your life up to this point that have had an impact on you, whether it maybe changed you as a person, it changed what direction you were going in, it was very meaningful to you. It's something that like you think about when you look back on your childhood or on your adolescence or on your early adulthood or whatever it is. Anyone have an example or want to share something that was a turning point in your life? And then sometimes these can be pretty personal, Sometimes it could be something that was a positive turning point, or sometimes it could be something tragic happened in your life, or something that was very difficult, but you were able to get through it and come over to the other side and look back on it now in a different way. Micah and Robert said both becoming a mother and having kids. Okay, yes, for sure. I agree. I have 2 kids, 4 and 2, and that was a big change for me. going from not having kids to having kids. So I can definitely relate to that. Huge turning point. Really makes you think about what's important in your life. What do you want to pass on to your kids? And how you want to raise them. You really think about those things. Jacob says, my dad dying from cancer. Yeah, definitely death can be a turning point, especially if it happens unexpectedly or suddenly or, at any point in your life, for sure. Especially a close family member like that can make you think about things, right? Yeah, definitely a good example. Morgan says, Tennessee, the whole year and a half was what laid the foundations of who I am to get today. It was a crazy time where a lot of bad things happened, but I learned how to go through it. It made me stronger and I'm bolder in who I am. Yeah, so a difficult time and a certain place that you remember and you said, wow, that part of my life was really difficult, but I got through it and look where I am today. Michael says, when I got my first video camera at 13 on Christmas. Okay, that was a turning point for you. I'm sure maybe you're getting into film or something like that. And that was like, wow, okay, now I found something that I really like and I've never felt like this before. Pretty cool. Demetria said adopted, right? Okay, yeah, definitely a huge turning point. Living with the new family, for sure. Okay, so those are some ideas. So now we have those ideas in our mind. So what does that mean? So how does that relate to your core values, right? So I know someone mentioned their father dying of cancer. So you might, after that experience, really value health and taking care of your body, and being strong. And that might become something that you're more paying attention to, right? And then your value would be, your health. You really value that and you want to appreciate it every day. I'm just giving you an example. I'm not saying that that's how you're feeling. Or the person that said Tennessee and the whole year and a half was a crazy time. A lot of bad things happened. So now you are feeling like I got through that, made me stronger. So you might value um, inner strength, right? So you might say, okay, I know that there's a part of me that can get through a hard time and be a better person, like that. Or if Dimitri's maybe being adopted, maybe now you have a better sense of valuing family and what family can be for you. So think about what those turning points are in your life, and then try to tie it down to a value. So usually value is one word, right? Like family, health, love, compassion, learning, those types of things. So hopefully that helps you get some ideas, and start to write these down, because I want you to start creating a list of the values. So if you have one that relates to a turning point or more than one turning point in your life, go ahead and write those down. Okay, now let's talk about beliefs. So what this means is which values have grown from those experiences. So what is it that you believe to be true in this world? Which of your values have been strengthened through those experiences that you've had, or challenged, or maybe even changed? So maybe you used to value, I don't know, maybe you used to value something in it, and it now is, after one of those turning points, you value something a little bit different. Maybe you valued money in your early life, and so you followed a career that would get you, that maybe it wasn't something you were passionate about, but you wanted to make money. And then maybe something happened, a turning point in your life, and you said, you know what? I found my true passion. I want to go to film school, or I want to be a recording artist, or I want to do this. This is what I've always dreamed of. This is my passion. Maybe it's not going to bring me money right now, but my values might have changed. I might now believe in something different is important. I realize money isn't, because that can happen. You can value something growing up through your experiences, and then as you become an adult, that might change, or you might it might be challenged. You're like, wow, I don't know if this is so important to me anymore. Maybe I need to think about this. Robert said, I used to value partying, then had kids, and my values became about making a good life for them. Yeah. So you probably felt like friends, friends are number one. I want to go out and have a good time. And, that's what's important, and being carefree or having fun kind of thing. And then you have kids and you're like, okay, I don't really value that anymore. I have to worry about taking care of my kids, making a good life for them, like you said, providing for them, teaching them good lessons, right? For sure. Jacob said drinking, and after my dad passed from cancer, that involved, and now I can't stand the sight of it. Yeah, so you might feel similarly, like that was something that was important to you, going out with friends, drinking, and experiencing that, and now, oh, I'm definitely going to value something different. Maybe my health is more important to me after seeing someone maybe suffer from that. Okay, yeah, good examples. Any other comments before we move on to anger triggers? So things that you believe in, what's important to you? Maybe something has strengthened. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on. Maybe you're thinking about something and you don't need to share in the chat box. Sometimes these things can be kind of personal. Obviously, they are very personal. There are core values. Micah says, family and success to care for my kids. Yeah. So you definitely value family and then also success. Okay. And I also want to think about success. What does success mean to you? Like, does it mean recognition? Does success mean money? Does success mean accomplishing a certain goal? So like breaking that down and saying, okay, what does success really mean? Okay. All right. Good thoughts. Okay. Morgan says, I value being open-minded and standing tall in the storm. Okay. So open-minded, definitely a big one. Being open to new experiences, ideas, and then standing tall in the storm. So that means, maybe to you mean bravery, or maybe that means inner strength or resiliency, like being able to bounce back from things quickly. So there's a lot of words to kind of describe this. So it's helpful to kind of like toy around with what those are. So go ahead and write down some ideas. Okay, now let's move on to anger triggers. So one of the things, back to beliefs. Um, it helps if you're having, like, if you're feeling struggling. And I was just thinking of Morgan saying, standing tall in the storm. Think about your favorite lyrics or song, or think about a quote that you really like, or a saying, or like a motto that you kind of live your life by. Does anyone have an example? Because that can also help you figure out some core values. Micah says, dreams don't work unless you do. Okay. So what does that say to me? That says that you value hard work and determination. Yeah. So breaking it down. Morgan says, no one can make you feel inferior without your permission. Okay. So confidence, self-confidence maybe is something that you value. Being strong and not letting other people tear you down. Michael says, be your reason for your own success. Okay, so you might value independence, right? I need to count on myself. I need to work hard. I need to do these things and not just take handouts from other people or get help from others. I got to do this on my own, kind of thing. And obviously I'm putting words in your guys' mouth because you're not talking to me directly, but I'm just giving you some examples. Okay. All right. So like I said, keep writing these down if any come to mind. All right. So Jacob, born for greatness. All right. So you probably value success. Yeah. And hard work. Because if you're born for greatness, then you have to work hard your whole life to get that. Right? Okay. So let's move on to anger triggers. So sometimes we have to work backwards. We're kind of like we kind of look back into our life to look at some events. But in terms of what makes us angry, what is something going on right now in the world? Well, that's a heated topic right there. Or maybe just makes you angry, like something that just really like like a pet peeve, like, oh man, I really hate it when people do this, or oh, I really hate it when this happens, or oh my God, it's so horrible. Like, I can't watch the news when I see these kind of stories. Oh, I like this. Morgan has a quote. Pain is relative. Just because it was a puddle to you doesn't mean it wasn't a sea for someone else. Ooh, I like that. That touches on perception, right? Because perception can affect how we feel, how we think, and it's a very strong thing. Great idea. James says, when someone cuts me off in traffic, or Caleb says, little kids running and yelling. Okay, so if you think about what comes to angry, it's because it could be something that's really important to you. So people that, or kids that run around and yell and scream, you might value tranquility or peaceful environments, right? So think of what the opposite of that is. Let's see. Joshua says, when people have a chance to work but don't. So you probably value hard work, and notice when people, it makes you angry when people don't also have that value. Michael says, lying to me after you're caught and continue lying. So you obviously value honesty, Michael. That's something that's important to you. Morgan says, jumping to conclusions. Okay, so you might value people being empathetic and understanding, because you want, to feel heard and appreciated, right? Like I says, bad mothers who don't care for their kids. Okay, so you might really value family and education for children, right? So if you think of those things that make you really angry, and it might be different, sometimes I think, when I don't know if those of you who have kids have felt this way, but like once I had kids, I realized like, oh, I kind of realized that I value certain things as a parent and things I want to teach my children. And my husband, on the other hand, he might value some of those same things, but some of those things might be different. And I notice that because he'll get angry about certain things. Like my husband gets angry when the kids spill things or break something. And that's a big trigger for him because he values order and he's a little OCD and he values like things being, neat and clean and taken care of. And that when we respect things, right? Me, I don't care. Like I spill and break stuff all the time and I'm just like, whoops, oh no big deal. Because that's not really something I value. It's not very important to me. But for me, it's important, like respect. Like my children need to talk to me respectfully. So, thinking about what makes you angry kind of is, and like it's like I said with me and my husband, it's different. We're all different. So, a lot of times this is where arguments and conflict, like we talked about last week, can happen when someone's values don't match with yours, especially family. Because we kind of expect, oh, we're family, we should all be on the same page. But it's very difficult if you have different values. Like I said, I have too many anger triggers about things going on in the world. Agreed. Completely. Sabra says, bullies. Oh, yeah. Definitely a trigger. So you probably value people being respectful and kind. You probably value kindness because a bully is like the opposite of kind, right? Okay, so you guys have hopefully some more core values written down, things that you value. Another exercise, like I just said, think about if you have kids or if you want to have children in the future, which values would you like to pass on to those children or even to other people in your lives that you care about, or what do you want to be remembered for? Like what is it at the end of your life say, okay, I want to be remembered as a person who was kind, or I want to be remembered as a person who worked hard to reach their goals, or I want to, so think about that and then maybe write some more of those ideas down. Morgan says, a peace bringer. Oh, I like that. A peace bringer. So some of the most common core values are respect, freedom, choice, independence. You can also refer back which might help is in the week 2 readings, you'll find the character strength survey, and that has your top 20 character strengths. So For example, some of them are love, honesty, fairness, love of learning, appreciation of beauty and excellence. So if you go back and take that, it might also help you create this list of values that you have. All right. So one of the things that I want to touch on, one of the values that I think is pretty important, obviously because I value this, but I feel very strongly about having the value of compassion. And I've seen so much negativity and judgment lately. I really think it's a good reminder that we all need to just kind of reset sometimes. And what I mean by having compassion is just having the authentic and genuine belief that people want to do good, you know, and that most people are capable of creating extraordinary things if they're able to have the right environment to do it in. We all have a story, a past, like some type of internal battle that we're struggling with, and if we go into our interactions with everybody or people with a mindset of compassion, we allow ourselves to see this. We allow ourselves to have patience for other people. We allow ourselves to have empathy for others and try to understand where they're coming from. So when we see a person that's like in front of us and they're driving slow or they're on their phone, or we get this road rage, what I do, I try to be compassionate and be like, okay, listen, maybe this person just got a text that about something that happened to a family member and they're distracted, or maybe they're having a bad day and they're just feeling really down, or that's why they're driving slow, or maybe they had a bad morning, kind of thing. Exactly, Morgan. You never know what that person has been through. So sometimes it's just nice to have a little reminder of just being compassionate to other people, because we don't know what their experience has been. Okay, so that was just my little soapbox. Jacob says, "What about when they flip you off?" Yeah, that's hard. Because then you're like, well, um, but maybe they're a very angry person because XYZ. We don't know, right? We don't know what's going on with them. That's when you smile and you mouth, "I love you," and see what happens. Or blow them a kiss. That might throw them off, make them laugh, and then maybe they'll have a funny story to tell when they get to work. Morgan says, "They were mad before they saw you. They don't know why they're doing that. It's not you they're truly mad at." Yeah. A lot of times we project our anger onto other people, right? This happens all the time. If you have a stressful morning, like this morning when my kids were like refusing to put their shoes on, I'm like, I don't understand what is so hard about putting shoes on. What is it with kids and shoes? I don't know if it's just my kids or what, but it took us like 10 minutes to get the stupid shoes on this morning. And I was like, ah. So I got in my car and I was stressed out when I was driving, and I was like, okay, calm down, and I probably wasn't, being the best driver for that first 3 minutes of my ride while I'm trying to like calm myself down about the shoes. So I have to remember that for the same thing for other people, right? Like, I don't know what they just came from. So, all right. So that's a little note on compassion. So, after putting some thought in it, we've asked ourselves a lot of questions that might have been easier, might have been hard. I want you to write down your top 5 values. Hopefully you have a little list going from our talk so far. And go ahead and type those out into the chat box, because, it's one thing to just think about it, but it's a whole nother thing to write it down and verbalize it and put it in the forefront of your mind. Okay? And I also want to see, you know, what different values we have, because guess what? It's different for everyone. And you could put them all together. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all in one box, or else I think it'll be easier maybe for me to read it. Okay, Joshua's number 1 is calm. Joshua, yeah. Art. So I'm just gonna read some of them in the chat box. I'm not gonna read your names too, because it might take too long. Respect. Okay, Micah says family, equality, respect, compassion, success. All right. Some of the ones that we've talked about. Jacob says love, honesty, courage, faith, family. Respect, family, friends, gaming, bravery, courage, open-mindedness, kindness, love, faith, family, freedom, yourself, positive vibes. So positivity, I'm assuming. Awesome. Aren't these great? Unity. Ooh, I like that one, James. Unity. Haven't seen that one. Integrity, says Nicholas. Dimitri's common sense. Family, helpfulness. All right, I'm seeing a lot of family. That's a big one for sure. Joshua, calm, energetic, athletic, hardworking. Okay. Calm and energetic. Wow. It must be tough to balance those two. Silence, says James. Yeah, sometimes it's nice to be in the quiet. All right. So some of these things can also relate to your personality, right? If you're an introvert, you kind of like to keep to yourself, then silence might be a value for you. Robert says open-mindedness, honesty, loyalty, happiness. Awesome. Jared says respect, happiness, friends, being helpful, and honest. Honesty. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So if you don't have 5 or if you have more, that's fine. But I would just, keep this list somewhere. And when you're feeling stressed, I want you to take it out and look at this list and think about how you came to be this person who values these things, what you've gone through, and what your goals are for the future. And I can tell you now, it'll be a mood booster. So now let me ask you a question. We've talked kind of about the past, we've talked about how you're feeling now, but what are you doing in your life right now that reflects your core values? Give me an example. Maybe of one core value and something you're doing that reflects that. And this is something that if you realize, I'm not really working on my happiness as much as I would like, because that's a value to me, but I really need to do something to increase that. That might be something you want to add to your plan this week. Morgan says, I'm being brave by going to school for computer animation. Awesome. So maybe that's something that you were nervous about doing or weren't sure of, and now you are being brave. That's reflecting that value. Awesome. Jared says, checking in on my friends that have moved away. Yeah, if you value friendship, yes, you want to definitely keep in touch with those people. Just because they're not physically there doesn't mean you can't have those good connections. Robert says, I volunteer at the senior center, and every Friday night I serve a community meal. Okay, so it's probably important to you to help other people and to be compassionate and helpful. Jacob says, dealing with loud roommates and not getting angry. I'm guessing you were the silence person. Yeah. Dimitri says, helping my friends with errands. Okay. Definitely being helpful. Micah says, I support equality by advocating the LGBTQ community and families who are being ripped apart due to immigrant laws, even when they have DACA status. Awesome. So equality is very important to you, and definitely supporting those causes. Awesome. Michael says, I'm putting down the video games and focusing on my art, screenplay, mindfulness, and fiance. Okay. So maybe you've had to change some things to reflect more on your core values and what those are. Maybe you got a little bit distracted by the video games. I'm assuming that's what maybe you're referring to. Awesome. So, like I said, if this is something you're like, oh man, I'm not really doing enough for family right now. Like I haven't talked to my parents or I haven't talked to my family members. I should really reach out, So think about if you're not doing things that reflect your core values to maybe start incorporating that into your life more. Okay. I love all the participation in the chat box. It's really nice to get a glimpse into your guys' core values. So I appreciate you sharing that with us and me. Okay, so let's move on. This is something that's related to our core values, and it's about the golden circle. This was in your reading. You may have watched the whole video. We're just going to watch part of it today. But now we have some idea of what's important to you guys and what we value, and this is going to help you determine your why or your purpose for doing what you want to do in your career. So, if you could please go to your material section and click on the golden circle video clip. If you've watched it already, I would encourage you to watch it again and now see how it relates to the values that we just talked about. And maybe you can take more from it, that you have a clear picture of maybe your why. Okay, so type done in the chat box when you're finished, please. Okay, thank you for the reminder about my mic. I swear, last week when I was doing the training, I had it off for about 5 full minutes before everyone figured out what was going on. It was bad. We were doing a quiz though, so I didn't, you know. Anyway, so hopefully looking at our core values maybe is starting to get you to think about why you are doing what you're doing. Why are you here at Full Sail? What are you wanting for your career? What's the purpose for what you want to do? So as you can see from the video, the golden circle encourages you to find the best way to move others through inspiring them, through whatever you are doing or whatever you would like to do with your career. So when we talk about purpose in the class, a lot of students struggle with this. They aren't sure why they do what they do. They just know that they like it. Like, I like film, so I'm here. I like this, so I'm here. So that's why we started with the values today, because sometimes starting with what is important to you can help you narrow down your why statement. So let's go back to your core values. What did you do? What's important to you? Now I want you to take a second and think about your why. What is your why? What is your purpose? So using the golden circle, you're going to spell out your why. So go ahead and you might want to write this down. So we're going to start with the why and work kind of backwards. So the why is, why do you want to be in your chosen industry? Why do you do the things that you do? Why are you learning about these things? Or, well, soon you will be. Not yet here in Psychology of Play, but in the future. Why? Okay, don't tell me yet. We're gonna write them all down so we have all three together. Okay. Now let's go to the how. How are you gonna do this? How? How specifically? How are you going to accomplish your why? And then finally, the what. What exactly is your purpose? So what is it that you're specifically going to be doing? Making music, producing music, making films, making, I don't know. You tell me. Okay. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes, and then when you're done, if you could type that in the chat box. So put why, then if you put it all together, I think it is easier to keep track of who's writing what. Please. All right, Nicholas is the first one. He says, why? Because life is fleeting and I want everyone to see the world. Okay, well, I'm curious to see what your how you're going to do that and what it is that you're going to be doing. So how is travel and document in an RV with the family. Awesome. And what photos and videos? Oh, cool. See how almost going backwards, it's sometimes it's harder starting with the why, starting with the purpose. But instead of like, what do you want to do? Because most people say, what are you doing? Or what do you want to do? What are you passionate about? And you're like, oh, taking photos and videos. But if you start with the why, it's like, why are you doing that? Because it's fleeting and I want everyone to see the world. I'm like, oh, it made me really curious as to what you're doing. So good work. Yeah, it is weird when you do it backwards like that. Sorry if I'm sniffling. I have a little bit of a cold. Anyone else want to share their three? Okay, here we go. James, to solve problems and be a role model to my kids by working hard. Okay. So your why is you want to solve problems. The how is by being a role model, and working hard is the what, I'm guessing. So what is it that you're going to be what kind of problems are you going to be solving? Like, what exactly are you going to be doing when you're working hard? That's what I would want to know. Okay, Michael says, why? Filmmaking is the art form of the modern century. I want to use this form to tell stories, create art that is all my own so the world will know who I am. How? By completing my degree program and continuing to learning about my craft of filmmaking and what filmmaking. Okay. So you definitely have a clear vision of why you want to be a filmmaker and how you're going to go about doing that. The start is definitely getting your degree. So that might change, obviously, once you have your degree about how you're going to go about sharing that with the world. Robert says, oh, wait, here. Morgan. Oh, okay, Micah. I'm trying to scroll up. Why? I chose my field to be able to spend more time with family, break free of the 9 to 5 work schedule so I can travel the world and see everything I want me and my kids to see because life is too short to be at a desk all the time. Okay. So Micah, I'm curious what field are you choosing to do and that it will allow you to work and travel and show your kids the world. Morgan says, why I'm here to teach others about life values. How? By telling and sharing stories. I'm passing on to be a kind person in the face of adversity. And what? I'm going in for computer animation. See, that was another one where I was surprised. Like, you're going to teach others about life values. How is he going to go about doing that? Well, his what is very clear, right? He's going to school here for computer animation. Awesome. Okay, Robert says, why? Fulfill my passion for music videos. How? Complete my degree in cinematography and then making quality, affordable music for underground music artists. Awesome. Okay, Demetrius says, I want to create games people can get lost in. Robert says, why? Fulfill my passion for music videos. Oh, wait, I just read that one. Joshua says, I'm doing this because since I've been young, I've always been fascinated by the way movies were made and the process they had behind them. I intend on accomplishing it by studying and analyzing movies. What is it is that I'm talking about, you may ask? Well, it's digital cinematography because I will be able to travel and meet new people. Okay. So your love of learning is what drives you. That's definitely one of your core values, is the love of learning. Micah, how? I use my design to generate business for my clients, which in return generates revenue for them and me. And what? Graphic design, creating branding content for clients to make their businesses thrive. Okay. So I think your why was about traveling, I think. Yeah, spending more time with family. Okay. Let's see. Caleb says, hold on. Why? I want to make God-honoring films because my faith is important to me. How? By learning all I can in animation and filmmaking. And what? By finding a studio that will work with me or making my own studio. Okay. So your why is very clear. You want to make faith-based films. Awesome. Okay, Caleb. Finding other artists that value the same thing. Okay. I'll have to go up and read what your other post was. Dimitri says, what video game design? How using great imagery and in-depth storylines that mesmerize. Okay, so what is your why? So what is a video game design and using the imagery that helps mesmerize? Why do that? Why is that important to you? Why is that your purpose? Okay, I want to create games people can get lost in. Okay, great. Yeah, I remember. I didn't remember what you had originally wrote. Okay, awesome. Yeah, sometimes the chat box moves really quick and I have to scroll up. It's like they make the chat box like the smallest little box. So silly on this panel. Okay. So, like I said, I hope you wrote this down. Keep it somewhere. Put it on your mirror so you see it every morning when you wake up. If you get through what you are going to experience, stress, when you're here at Full Sail as a student and you're just like, God, why did I do this? This is so hard. Or I'm really stressed. I have this final project to do and, I have a lot going on. I want you to read this why statement, okay? And think about why you're here and why you want to do what you want to do, okay? And hopefully that will help inspire you and give you some motivation to get through some of that stress, okay? All right. Now, that's one tool for your toolbox. Today's all about tools for your toolbox. Here's another tool, the ABCDE model. So we learned about core values. We learned about creating a why statement to help motivate you. Well, there's also some other things that we can do on a daily basis to help us when we feel stress. So sometimes, even if we have this why statement, even if we know our core values, little things, stressful situations are going to pop up, and they sometimes can just lead to those self-defeating thoughts like, God, life is so hard. Oh, you know, stress is driven by our perception. So we might perceive thinking, oh, this is unfair. Or, oh man, like life feels out of control, and it can stop us from reaching those goals that we've talked about. So Albert Ellis, who's an American psychologist, he believed that all of our emotions were a direct result of our thinking and our thought patterns. So what we think dictates how we feel. And he believed that much of our self-talk is based up of irrational thinking and false perceptions. So you know that little voice in your head that when something bad happens, what does that voice say to you? Well, he believes that sometimes, and a lot of times, it's mostly irrational thinking. It's a little bit dramatic, and it could be based on false perceptions, not really what happened and the truth in a rational way that we're thinking about it. So self-talk can often lead to stress. It can affect our self-esteem. If we're constantly beating ourselves up in our heads, oh, why did that happen? Oh no, this is so horrible. It's going to affect how we feel, and it's not going to help with our stress. So this model he came up with, the ABCDE model, is helpful in those moments when our perceptions are not benefiting us in a positive way. When that self-talk, that voice inside your head, is being annoying and not helpful. And this is an important skill. Like anything else, you have to practice. You're not going to immediately just start using this. But if you train your brain, like we learned in week 2 is possible, create those new neural pathways. You do this every day, or every time you have a little stressful event, you work through this model, you will notice a significant change in how you perceive and your mood towards stressful events. Okay. This is a very, very common practice. Things that are taught in therapy, in cognitive behavioral therapy. Very, very research-backed technique. So the research is there that it works. So I'm going to show you a little video clip so you can see what the heck I'm talking about, and then we're going to work through a situation together. So please go to the materials section and click on irrational beliefs, and then type done in the chat box when you're finished. Okay, it looks like most of you guys are finished. Have any of you ever heard of this before? Or is this something new? No? I'm just curious. Okay, awesome. I like it when it's new because then it's because for me this is like, oh, it's so drilled in my brain from being a therapist that it's fun when I encounter people that haven't, you know, ever heard of it before. Okay. So let's go through each letter so we know what they mean. A is the acting event. So this is the bad event or the problem or the situation, whatever happened. You know, what did you do? What did others do? Basically, like really breaking down what is the problem. You know, and sometimes in therapy, when I would ask the person what the problem is, they would kind of like talk around it, and they really just didn't focus on the facts. Like, what happened? What did you do? What did other people do? What were their reactions? What were your reactions? Focusing just on what the problem is. Then B is the belief system. So your automatic thoughts after the bad event or the problem. So that's when that negative self talk tends to creep up. Oh my gosh, what am I thinking? This just happened. What do you believe about what happened? Um, all those things that are going on in your brain. Consequences. Emotional. So the resulting feelings or emotions. So like after your self-talk, after that voice inside is going and going and going, churning and churning and churning, how do you feel afterwards? What are the usual consequences of this belief? So how does this belief influence what you do next based on how you feel? And remember, a lot of times when we feel some type of emotion, we tend to jump to that secondary emotion of anger. This happens a lot. Now, this is where we want to change things. This is the DE part of the model, right? Okay. Now, this is where we say, let's dispute this thinking. Let's talk to our self talk. Let's talk to ourselves. Let's challenge what that little voice is saying and say, hey, is that really accurate what you just said? Or are you just saying that because you're upset? Are there any other possible options, or is it only this black and white? Or, can you let it go now? No, no. Are there any other ways that you can change the situation? Basically, so you're gonna kind of argue back. This makes me think of like the negative self-talk, in the cartoons when they used to have like the devil on one side of your shoulder and the angel on the other. It's like, the devil's like your negative self-talk and the angel is the positive self-talk. And it's like, okay, no, let's really talk about this. Is it really that way? Let's dispute that thinking. And then what are the new emotions after you've disputed the negative thoughts? How did you feel? What were the positive effects of disputing the problem? And can you let it go now? Okay. So it's kind of easier if we go through and do an example, or else it seems a little bit abstract. So I'm going to just give us something simple. Okay. So let's say you are on the way to work. You're pretty much on time. You're going to get there on time, or you're on your way to school, and you get a flat tire. What are some of the beliefs or negative self-talk statements that you might say in your head after something like that happens? You just got a flat tire. What are you thinking? What is your self-talk? Go ahead and type it in the chat box. I'm going to get detention. I'm going to be late. Great. How am I going to fix this before getting to school? Caleb says, I'm going to be late. Gonna be late. Yeah. hmm And you might even think like, oh no, this is my second time late. I'm going to get fired. Or you might think, oh, geez, just my luck. These things always happen to me. You know, something bad always happens, or always goes wrong, or why me? You know, You might even take it that step further, especially if you're under stress. Like if you got a flat tire and you're like, da 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 da, having a great day, you've been feeling pretty good lately, your self-talk might be a little bit different than if you had a stressful week, or if you have a project due at school, or you have work and you have a meeting first thing in the morning, right? Your responses or your self-talk might be a little bit different. It's different for everybody. But this is just kind of a general example of something that would probably make everybody here think something negative, right? Okay, so let's talk about the emotional. Okay, so you're thinking all those things. Oh gosh, why did this happen to me? I'm going to be late. This and that. I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get detention, whatever it is. What are some feelings that you might feel after thinking that? Well, Morgan and Demetrius, don't go to dispute thinking yet. We're focusing on emotional. So, what emotion would you be feeling after thinking, "Oh man, I'm going to be late"? Emotions. I'll have no income to take care of kids and myself. That would be belief system, not the consequence of the belief. Okay, so a consequence of that might be fear, anger, mad, stressed. Exactly. Frustration, right? Anger, worry, yes. Yes, yes, yes. All those things are probably going to increase your stress level, right? Make it difficult to solve the problem. Make it difficult to think, what am I going to do next? How am I going to get to work? How do I solve the problem? Right? Now imagine you have two kids in the car too, and this is before you drop them off, and they're screaming and they're hungry. I always put my kids in all these things because they just amp up the emotional reactions. Okay, then we go to dispute thinking. Okay, so let's say you take a deep breath, you take a second to yourself. Okay, I got a flat tire. I'm feeling frustrated. Whew, let me process what's going on. Okay. And then you think, I'm going to do the ABCDE model that we talked about in class. I'm going to disrupt this thinking. I'm going to challenge those beliefs and negative thoughts. Okay. What can I say to challenge those thoughts that we had before? Like, now I'm gonna lose my job. I'm gonna lose my kids. I'm not gonna have money to put up food on the table this week. Da, da, da. You might be having all those things. How do you dispute that? Caleb said, I didn't wreck. Okay, so you can say, you know what? My car's still working. It's just a flat tire. Nicholas said, flat tires happened. It's not like I don't have proof, right? You could show. Michael says, I can call in, let them know, and change a tire and still make it in. So you can think, okay, I can solve this problem. It's not the end of the world. I can let them know I'm running late and what happened. These things happen, right? Doesn't always happen, like I don't remember the last time I got a flat tire. My boss is pretty reasonable. It's okay. Michael says, I can still call in, let them know, change a tire. Oh, yeah, you said, I read that one. Joshua says, maybe there's an extra tire in the back. Yeah, maybe. Okay, let me check if there's an extra tire. Maybe I can change it myself and not be too late to work. Okay, yes. So basically, you're talking yourself through all of those beliefs and negative self-talk that you're having, and hopefully then you'll have a new effect, a new emotional response, which might be what? Well, first Michael says, this could be much worse. I can call my insurance company, get the tire changed, have the towing tire replacement package, call boss, explain to get proof to show boss about tire going flat. Okay, so you come up with a plan. You're like, this could be worse. It's not that bad. This is how I solve the problem. Let's focus on the facts, right? And then how do you feel after you do that? What do you think? What are the new emotions after you've disputed those negative thoughts? Relief. Oh, exactly. Relief. Calmness, says James. Nicholas says, in the future, I should check my tires and be more prepared for these emergencies. So thoughtfulness, right? Might be inspired or motivated to prepare for something like that. hmm Yeah, so you realize it's something temporary, it's not the end of the world, and then you feel a sense of relief, right? Basically. So now that we've gone through this example, consider something that's happened to you this morning or this week that you could apply this model to you. So let's do an example. I have plenty, but we'll do one of yours. Something stressful that happened to you this week. Doesn't have to be too extreme, just something that was like, oh, and you felt yourself doing that negative self-talk. And that you wished you handled it differently. Okay, fiance walked out on me. Okay. So let's boil this down to, I'm sure we've all had this experience. You get in an argument with your significant other and they walk away. So you don't resolve the argument, you don't finish the conversation, you're left hanging. Okay? Let's say that's the event. We've probably all experienced that at some point in our lives, right? Okay. So what are some of the beliefs that you might have? What's B? Oops. What is your beliefs about that? Micah says, it was my fault. Right. So you might blame yourself, or you might say, oh no, our relationship is over. We're going to get divorced, or we're never going to fix this, or this always happens. We always fight. Why do we fight so much? What's wrong with us? I can't believe I did that. Yeah. I'm reading some of yours and I'm also throwing in some of mine. Right. So you have all these negative thoughts, like, or you beat yourself up about it, or you beat up your partner about it, like, oh, they're so horrible. Why did I get married to this person? Why am I with them? Look what they did. They didn't even finish talking. Or oh, I should have said this, or why didn't I say that, or all these things are flying through your mind. And then what's the consequence? What are the emotions that you might be feeling at that point? Anger and sadness, yeah. Worried. Yeah, like I would feel like so uneasy. Like whenever I get into an argument and it's not left resolved, I feel almost like anxious, like, oh, I have to fix this, or I have to solve this right away, or something, or it means something, Yeah. So in this type of situation, how could you dispute that thinking? I like that. Morgan says, it's you and me versus the problem, not me versus you. Yes, I like that. That would definitely make me feel better thinking that. Or it's not the end of the world. It's just an argument. We'll talk about this later when we're both calmed down. Or we've had arguments before, and we've always been able to work through them and move forward. And this is no different. You say these types of things to yourself, right? To help yourself work through it. Or maybe he was or she was just angry and needed to take a break. We can talk again later. Or maybe it's good that they left so we didn't say things that we didn't mean. These are all things that you could say to yourself. And then if you start to say those types of things to yourself, how might you start to feel? Micah says, I know the reason he left wasn't me, it was a circumstance, and we will talk and work things out. Yes. Okay. So this is not the end of the world. We'll be able to talk about it and work it out. It wasn't about me. And then how do you feel? How do you feel after you kind of talk down that negative self-talk? Relieved and comforted. Yes. Nicholas says anxious, but not spiraling out of control. Yeah. So it might take that anxiety down a notch. Jamia says stress-free. Okay. Or you might just be like, okay, I'm going to table this for right now. I'm feeling relieved. I'm going to go on with my day and know that we'll talk about it later. Caleb says confident. Oh, I like that. Yep, exactly. Okay. So do you guys get the idea? So the situation could be completely different, right? How you handle it, you might not chase that person out the door screaming at them like, "Come back in here and talk to me." You might give yourself a chance to take a break, take a breath, dispute the thinking, reduce your some of your anxiety, and then you can be more rational and think about how to solve the problem and move on with your day, right? So think about this the next time you have some type of situation that you find stressful, and see if you can try to take a moment to use this method. Okay. Now, like I said, it takes practice. It's a skill, which means you have to use it over and over and over again until it becomes a behavior that you naturally use. Okay. But the more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it. Okay. So consider using that model, especially, as you kind of go through the program and experience some stressors with school, which are going to happen, unfortunately. Okay. So let's move on to another tool to put in your toolbox, mindfulness. Does anyone know we talk about mindfulness and some people think that that's like meditation? It's a type of meditation, but does anyone know like what makes mindfulness different? Is anyone in here? Because I know, I think someone earlier mentioned mindfulness. And I'll explain to you what it is if you're not sure. Um, But our day-to-day lives, we have so many activities, so many thoughts. We're go, 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 go pack. This morning it's like pack lunches, get in the car, get the shoes on, pack my lunch, bring my computer, go take off the kids to school, and then do my job, and then come home and then unpack the stuff and then cook dinner and then put the kids to bed and then, finish up my work. And, it's just like sometimes life feels really crazy, like you're just going a mile a minute. And a lot of times that can lead to stress. So, how do you keep your mind healthy when you're bombarded with so much? We don't have time to be Buddhist monks and sit in a monastery and meditate for 10 hours a day to help us with our stress, right? So, mindfulness meditation is something that we can do at any moment of our day. Micah says, exactly. Being aware of your surroundings. Morgan says, mindfulness is being aware of what you are feeling and what's around you. It causes you to think things through. Exactly. Okay. So it's purposeful. You're saying, okay, I'm going to take a breath right now and I'm going to pay attention to what's around me, any physical sensations I'm feeling, any thoughts running through my head, any feelings, um, and just focus on that. And you might think, oh, well, paying attention to all those things, like how would that make me feel less stress? How's that going to help me pay better attention to the world around me? How's that going to make me feel better? So I want to do a little activity, a little mindfulness, and I want you to really try it. Like, it's only 3 minutes. Just really try it and give it a chance. Be open-minded. So go to your material section. We're going to all do this, and then we're going to talk about it afterwards. It's called Mindful Activity. So click on that link. Sorry for that again. And then when you're finished, type done in the chat box, please. All right, it looks like most of you are finishing up. So now that you're all back from your guided meditation breathing journey, breathing is definitely a big, huge, important thing in mindfulness meditation. How do you guys feel? Same, better, calm, says Jared. Relaxed. Need a nap. Yeah, made you tired. Clearer, calm. We're just talking about how you're feeling now. Calm, very calm. But still sick. Okay. Sorry. Doesn't help with that. Rebecca says definitely tired. Yeah, this is definitely something if you have trouble sleeping, listening to mindfulness meditation exercises before you go to sleep, closing your eyes and doing the deep breathing can really help um, with sleeping. Okay, great. So you're feeling really calm. So I know I asked before if any of you had any experience with some type of guided meditation. I know a couple of you mentioned it earlier that you knew what it was. Michael says, I must recommend an app called Calm. It's for mindful meditation and it's incredible. Oh, great. Thanks for the recommendation. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, Michael also has a meditation app. It puts me to sleep every night and helps me with anxiety every day. Yes. Good. Yeah, so it can be something that you even just do for 3 minutes, even if it's just 3 minutes a day. Everyone has 3 minutes, right? Right? So take that 3 minutes, take that 5 minutes, or take that time right before bed and try this and see how it helps. So, what are some external things that often distract you from being in the moment? Sometimes we just have a lot going on, right? And it's hard to just focus on the beautiful things around us and our breathing and our um, and nature. Noise, says Michael. Yes, that can be very distracting. Kids yelling. Yes. Lights and sounds, vehicles driving by. Mhm. And sometimes, it's thinking, I know for me, it's not always like something like physically external like cars or sounds. It's like my own mind. Like my mind is thinking about the future. My mind is thinking, okay, what do I need to do tonight? What am I cooking for dinner? Do I need to go to the store? What food do I need? Do I have any milk left in the fridge? You know, did I remember my computer cord? Like these are the things I'm thinking about when I'm just sitting and not doing anything. And now, is that helpful, or would it be more helpful, for my stress? No. But would it be more helpful if when I had a break, instead of thinking about all those things, if I just thought about my surroundings and I did this mindful breathing activity, I put on my headphones, so I didn't have some of those noise distractions, right? And close my eyes for a minute. So also think about, what are some things you can do to help eliminate some of the distractions around you. Definitely headphones is a go-to for me. I work in a cubicle, so I have people talking, conversations going at all day long when I'm at work. So I'm always hearing something. Right now, thank God, there's a white noise machine in the room that I'm in. So it's a little bit more quiet than it usually is, but um, what do you guys do to eliminate distractions, or what can you do? All right, well, see, now you guys are all tired. Now I made you guys all tired. Better hurry up and wrap it up. Listening to music, classical music, go to a quiet room in my house. Oh, yeah, that's important. Sometimes when I feel like super stressed and the kids are screaming and yelling, and I say to my husband, if you saw him, Mark, I just need 5 minutes. I just need 5 minutes. And I go upstairs and I go in my bathroom, because my bathroom, we just remodeled it. So it's really pretty and it makes me feel relaxed just going in there. And I just kind of sit down and just chill for 5 minutes. And then I come back out and I feel so much better. Sometimes you just need a break. You need a little break. Watch YouTube videos, draw or paint. Yeah, you guys have some great ideas. So, if this is your first time experiencing guided meditation, this would be a great goal to put in your fit or push activity in your weekly plan that's due tonight. And remember, mindfulness isn't shutting off your mind from the world. It just means focusing on one thing at a time. So we're not constantly like swirling with all these thoughts. All right. Let's talk about another tool, trying something new for 30 days. So speaking of weekly plans, I want you guys to watch another clip. It's about trying something new for 30 days, which sounds familiar because you've been doing that all month. If you didn't realize it, the weekly plan, I'm sure that type of plan is new to you. It's something that you've been doing, and it'll be interesting to see how you feel after the class is over about the plan. But yeah, so let's watch the video real quick and then we'll talk about it. It's the Matt Cutts video. Try something new for 30 days. So type done in the chat box when you're finished. Okay, it looks like most of you are finished. So, what do you think of the clip? What do you think of this idea? Trying something new for 30 days. You gonna try it out? Does anyone have an idea of what they want to try for 30 days? Oh, like I said, an art piece a day. Okay. Okay, do something every day that's creative. Rebecca says trying not to eat out for 30 days. Robert says cut out carbs. Okay. So sometimes it could have to do with your creativity or being more healthy. And, this is one of the reasons that we had you guys do the weekly plan because think about it. This course is 4 weeks long. And but it was an assignment. So it wasn't for, this is something, you might want to think about doing, obviously not for a grade, but to help you have that balance that we all need. So you could make it a goal after this class to continue to play a little bit every day, like you've been including it in your plan, or make it a goal to use the ABCDE model a few times a day until it becomes natural. Or just think about something that you've always, kind of wanted to do, just like the push category for your plan. So those types of things. So hopefully you've already been thinking about this for the last month, and maybe this is another strategy that you could try to make something a habit, which is obviously a good thing because then it becomes part of your daily routine. Remember those small, sustainable changes, things you could keep going, they're more likely to stick. So cutting out carbs, that's definitely a challenge. Sometimes starting small is good. Like, okay, I'm not going to eat any pasta for a month, or I'm not going to eat any bread, and then each month or try, baby steps. Because sometimes, if your goal is too lofty, it could be hard. Michael says, try a new medium for art. Like it says, keto diet started as 30-day challenge for me, and now it's my lifestyle. Yes, exactly. So that 30 days really set it in motion for you, and now it's just something that become part of your lifestyle. Yeah, just make sure, like I said, it's something that is realistic for you. So let me see. I want to think about, because it is the end of the month, like what has stood out from you guys in this class as things that you would like to continue doing or thinking about after this class is over? Because, class is over on Sunday. You start a new class the next Monday, right after that. So we don't want you to just be like, okay, done psychology play, completed, moving on. But we want you to think about what you're going to take away from this class. What tools or concepts have you guys implemented or want to implement in the future, either in your personal life or professional life. It could be something that you learned in one of the readings. It could be something you learned from doing your weekly plan every week. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay, Robert says he's going to continue the plan, and so is Micah, using conflict resolution. Nicholas says he enjoyed the push goals. Okay, so taking that time to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Yeah, it's not something we typically do, right? Michael says continuing to make plans for my day, making time for play, fit, wellness, push myself. Okay. Caleb says taking away the idea that play is healthy. Awesome. Rebecca says definitely the weekly plan. I have trouble following through with it, but I'm hoping the more I stick to it, the more I follow through. Yeah, exactly. James says he enjoyed time batching his plans. So if you could think of, which week did you guys enjoy the most of the class? So if you think back, week 1, we talked about play personalities, play history, the value of play in our lives as adults. Week 2, we talked about positive psychology. We talked about the brain. We talked about flow. Talked about PERMA. Week 3, we talked about motivation, gamification, collaboration, conflict. And week 4, we talked about, like we did today, mindfulness and having balance in our lives and dealing with stress. What was the favorite? Okay, so I see we have week 4, a lot of week 3s, week 2. Okay, Rebecca says week 2, the wellness and well-being reading was my favorite. Morgan says week 3, I'm super gritty. All right. Yeah, it's fun learning about that. It's awesome. Okay, so it looks like mostly weeks 2 and 3. Awesome. Very cool. Another question. Have you seen a change in yourself throughout the 4 weeks? If you don't mind sharing any changes that you've noticed. I know which ones from my students the things that I've graded, I can see it in their reflections in the plans and in the discussion board, but I know we're a group here from many different instructors. Becca says, I've seen a positive change for sure. Before the weekly plans, I couldn't find time to myself. Robert says, much happier, less stressed. Michael says, it's easier for me to find balance in my life now, which has been great. Awesome. Yay. Micah says, I changed my learning more about myself to know why I am the way I am when it comes to certain aspects of my life. I have learned how to adapt and commit to keeping a schedule. Awesome. Joshua says, definitely have been a little bit more productive now. Awesome. Remember, even little gains, little improvements are helpful. Well, thank you guys for sharing. I obviously love to hear all the good things. It's keeping positive. Oh no, it says my computer is running low. That's not good. Okay. So overall, the goal and the bigger lesson of this month is that you guys are walking away with the course with ways to incorporate and apply all that play has to offer, in your personal life, in your professional lives. It's more than just going to a playground or throwing a ball. It's like you've learned more about how play is related to your creativity and what keeps you motivated and inspired. And it's all about that balance, right? So I'm glad to hear that you guys have, definitely picked up some of these concepts and will be continuing using them after this class is over. And I would like to finish with a clip of this video I found from Pixar. It's really cute. There's no words, but it is very powerful. So let's go ahead and watch that now, and then we can kind of end on a good note. It actually won a lot of awards, this video. So go to Inspiration, it's called, the clip, and then type done in the chat box when you finished, and then we'll wrap things up. So guys, sorry to interrupt your video. I just realized that my computer is at 3%, 2%. Oh my gosh. Okay. I just realized that. I don't know why the battery is not lasting, and I don't have my charger because I'm in the library right now and I'm not at my desk. So my computer is about to die. I know, Nicholas, I think I jinxed myself. I wasn't joking about the charger earlier. You know why? Because this is not the first time this has happened. So I apologize. I'm going to have to let you guys go, but hopefully you've clicked on the link and you have it. And it's just a little clip to remind you of the importance of creativity and in society, and it really touches on some of those values that we talked about earlier. So I'm going to now use the ABCDE model to not make myself feel bad about forgetting my charger. And we are going to finish a little bit earlier, but please finish by watching that clip on your own, and hopefully it gives you a little bit of inspiration and helps you go on with your day. So thank you so much for coming, and again, sorry for the no charger, but things happened. It's not the end of the world. We'll all be okay. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.